Hello everyone, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about reverse slope defense. We're going to be talking about what it is, how to use it, and why it's so effective in certain scenarios. So, what is reverse slope defense? Well, we're going to take a hill, very exaggerated hill, and we're going to place a insurgent on the top of the hill. Now, let's say this is a huge hill, like the hill on Kohat, and we'll move to the Kohat map in a second. Let's say my insurgent can only really engage contact effectively with his iron sights out to this distance, right? This is exaggerated, of course. Now, let's say we take a US soldier or any kind of magnified optic, whether it be the Russians with their PSOs or any, vehicle like the Crows system or the BTRs and stuff like that. Now, in this scenario, the insurgent on the top of the hill, while he has vision over everything at the bottom, can only effectively engage contact at this marker distance. The US and the responding team, however, has the range to hit the player at the top of the hill. As you can see, we're at a range disadvantage, and this happens a lot, whether it be US versus INS, Russians versus militia, stuff like that. There are certain teams in squad, because of the asymmetrical nature of the game, that have an advantage, whether it be optics or weapon advantage, over the other team, and you need to play accordingly. So reverse slope defense is taking that insurgent player and placing him on the reverse slope of the hill. US is still on this side of the hill. Now, as you can see here, US cannot engage that player on the reverse slope simply because that hill is in between them. Now, let's say we're on the defending team, right? Take, for example, once again, Kohat invasion, where the US has to assault all the way to the radio tower. As insurgents, using this tactic, you are able to wait on the reverse slope of the hill. As US pushes up to the top of the hill, you have now forced an engagement range favorable to your weapon systems, right? Because now you're able to engage these guys at this distance. Even if they're able to engage you, you've now equalized the playing field. Instead of the reverse scenario where insurgents were on the hill and the INS was all the way INS was on the hill and US was all the way out. Now, it's important to realize this only works if INS is close enough to the bottom of the slope. If the INS is all the way back, once again, outside of engagement range, they're still not going to be able to hit. So you want to be right on the reverse slope of that hill for when the US comes over the hill, right? And that way you can manipulate the battlefield to force favorable engagement ranges for your team, right? So we're going to take a look at Kohat. And we're going to take a look at how we utilize this on Kohat. So let's take this large hill that insurgents love to go up on, right? And US starts over here. And US is pushing along, right? Throughout the entire time that US is pushing, and US needs to push this direction, right? Because they need to go from that cap all the way down to this cap, and that's the rough path that they're going to follow. Kohat is an extremely hilly terrain. As we all know, this huge hill pretty much in the center of US's path. You also have secondary hills over here that US might try to push through. So how do we use reverse slope defense? Well, let's say the fight for Sunni Kel, which is this point right here, is not going well. And we need to start pulling back, right? And start prepping for Charkar, which is on the defend mark. What we do is we don't sit up on this hill and get picked off over and over and over again by US superior optics. What you do is you can wait in the defilade of the reverse slopes of this hill, and as US pushes up to the top of these ridges, because they cannot see what's on the other side, you have now forced an engagement range that's favorable, or at least equalized, for your optics. Right? Because they've got ACOGs. They've got what, like 1, 2, 3 ACOGs, four magnified optics per squad about, and you have at the max 2. So there's no way as insurgents you can win toe-to-toe at a long range against US forces. If you keep trying to fight US forces hill to hill, long engagement ranges, you're going to lose that fight. So just thinking about the terrain around you and how you can use that terrain to force fights that are favorable to you. Because US is going to naturally gravitate to that high ground, right? And this only works if they do that. If they go around and they stay on the low ground, you know, that's a whole different story. We're just talking about reverse slope defense at this point. But you can see how using that hill to kind of pull them in closer to you because they have to close range to get that line of sight back, and then attacking them while they're at the top of the hill. While they do have the higher ground, you now have them within a 50-meter engagement range, and those iron sights are going to work just fine. The height is not necessarily going to matter as much as, you know, them having the ACOGs if they're picking you off at 400 meters. So make sure you stay in the defilade, you stay in the reverse slopes. This is just to help illustrate how that works. All right. So I hope this video kind of helped you guys visualize what reverse slope defense is, especially when I talk about it in ops. But yeah, utilize it, and I hope this helps you out both in squad ops and in squad. Thanks for watching. Let me know if there's anything else you want to see and if these videos help, any suggestions or anything like that, and I'll see you in the next video, guys.